Finding your passion is a critical quest in life. If you're like me, you're often interested in a lot of different things at the same time, but it can be really difficult to know exactly what to focus your energy on. In this video, I'm going to share 2 key activities that will not only help you identify what you care about, but also what you do better than anyone else. These activities were derived from the book, The 15 Commitments of Conscious Leadership. And it's about the 15 commitments that anyone should take if they aspire to be a true conscious leader. It's a great book. I highly recommend you read it. I've already read through it a couple times myself. It's amazing if you love all things leadership, personal development, the way that it helps you reframe your mindset. So definitely check it out. In this book, there's a specific chapter called Zone of Genius. And a zone of genius is kind of like your superpower. It's something that we do effortlessly and also something that we're really, really good at. And in most cases, it's something that we really enjoy as well. There are things that we are incompetent at, so not very good, probably maybe even really bad at it, and we don't actually spend a lot of time in this area. I see that most of us don't like to do things that we're not good at. It just doesn't make us feel good. There are things that we are competent at, things that we're just kind of like meh, like you can do it if you have to. These might be things in your life that you might get assigned to at work, perhaps something at school as well, something that might be assigned to you and you're just like okay at it. There are things that we're excellent at, and a lot of people spend their time in the excellent zone. It's something that we might even confuse at times for our zone of genius because we're good at it, we get a lot of compliments for it. It might be something that we actually enjoy a little bit, but it's nothing like our zone of genius. Our zone of genius are things that we're so good at them, we probably don't even realize that we're good at them because it just comes so naturally. As I mentioned, a lot of us get stuck in these other 3 zones. And the reason why we may get stuck there is perhaps we think that we're flawed. We don't want to outshine others, so perhaps you actually maybe have a good idea of what your zone of genius is, but it feels like you don't want to show off, you don't want to outshine others, you don't want to make others feel uncomfortable. And many of us might get stuck in the excellent zone because it just simply feels comfortable. It feels good enough, but you really miss out on all the potential that you could have in your personal life and the impact that you can have towards the world and others when you're not in your zone of genius. Overall, staying in these other zones limits our potential and also our fulfillment. Now, the next question might be, so how do you find your zone of genius? Zone of genius can be hard to find because it's kind of like telling a fish that it's good at swimming or a bird that it's good at flying. When it's something that we might have trouble identifying ourselves, it's best to look outward as other people notice things about us that we might not know. The first activity is the best stuff exercise. For this exercise, you'll just need yourself and one other person. Ideally, the other person is someone who is really good at listening. So while it can be anyone, try to think about who's a really good listener in your life. That's going to help them a ton in this activity. Jot down 8 specific accomplishments or experiences from your life. Each of these experiences that you jot down have to encompass 2 things. One being that it's something that you genuinely enjoyed. It was fun, it was amusing, it was something that you were in the zone in, something that you reflect on and think that was a really positive experience. Secondly, it has to be something that you did well, something where you provided high quality results, where someone gave you feedback and said you did an amazing job, or perhaps there were some numbers attached to it. Maybe you actually saw like evidence of the results, or perhaps you even saw results by comparing it to something else that you've done before, seeing, hey, that other thing that I didn't do so great at that, but this one, I'm doing great, I'm killing it. It can't be something that you enjoy doing, but you actually didn't do so well, or something that you did really well at, but you didn't enjoy. It has to be both. These stories can be from any point of your life, and you might actually see that the best stories come from your childhood. So when I was doing this activity, a lot of my experiences, probably like the majority of them, came from when I was either a child or perhaps in high school. These experiences can be related to work, it can be related to your home, leisure, it could be about a relationship or a project. There is no certain box you have to fill for this. When you write these stories down, you don't have to write them out in detail. Just think about the story and jot down a note or two so that you remember what the story is when the second part comes. Part 2 of this activity is you're gonna sync up with your listener, either through phone or in person or over Zoom. Set aside 20 to 40 minutes for this part. Each of you will have a role. Your role is to talk about your 8 stories. Talk about them in detail, tell them about what you enjoyed, tell them about the outcome, walk them through the entire experience. While you're talking about these stories, your listener should be actively listening, but also taking some notes. Your listener should be jotting down notes around common themes that they hear while you're sharing your story. If there's any common thread between 2 or more stories, or any specific moments where they hear you talking really excitedly about something, anything that they notice as common themes throughout the 8 stories that you share. Once you finish, your listener is going to share their notes and share to you what they heard the common themes were in all of your stories. You'll likely be surprised at how seemingly different experiences from different points in your life can actually be so closely connected. That's how I felt when I was doing this activity. A story from when I was like 5 years old somehow was so similar to something that I did in college. I did this activity with my friend Drea. Huge shout out to Drea if you're watching this. Some of the stories that I wrote for my 8 experiences included when I was young, I used to draw these frog and fish comics. I just loved it. I loved to draw, and I also loved the storytelling part of it. I would create these storylines where like this frog and this fish were fighting over a lily pad and really random things like that. I actually had another story later on, which was being in high school and also doing a comic for one of my class assignments and getting a lot of praise from my teacher from that. But I wasn't really expecting to get praise for it. One day after class, my teacher pulled me. He told me that my comic was amazing and that he asked me what I wanted to do when I was older. At that point, I honestly had no idea what I wanted to do, but I do remember that being a very impactful moment to me. Some of my other experiences included starting a painting company. I used to paint graduation caps and create small paintings, and I love the entrepreneur aspect of this. Felt that it was something that felt really like it was fun, like it was something that I enjoyed, but it was also something that I was good at. People were ordering from me, and that was at least telling enough that I was at least good enough for people to order from me and come back. Another thing that I wrote down was giving a speech. In high school and in college, I gave graduation speeches, and while it was a little bit, not gonna lie, it was a little bit stressful. It felt very fulfilling when I was done with it. And I also felt like I did really great at it because I got a lot of feedback after from people telling me that they were impacted by it, that they cried. And so this was something else that I wrote down. When Drea shared her notes, some of the things that she told me was, I have a way of storytelling in my art and also in the way that I speak. And that can let people into a world that they might not know about and they might not experience yet. I have a way of connecting with others, that I somehow am able to communicate a vision that might be difficult, but that somehow through my art and through the way that I speak, I communicate difficult and abstract concepts into something very impactful. So it was really, really interesting. She didn't so much focus on the technical. She focused more on like my energy and the way that I view the world, which I really, really appreciated because it's something that I had no idea that I was doing, and I had no idea that it was something that other people could see. So thank you, Drea, for doing this activity with me. I loved it, and let's move on to activity number 2. Activity 2, in the book it doesn't actually have a title, but for this purpose I'm calling it the What You See in Me exercise. In this exercise, you'll create a survey to send to about 15 to 30 people. If you have at least 15 people, that's a great sample size, but of course, the more the better. So if you happen to have up to 30 people or even up to 40 people who could take this survey, that's even going to provide better results for you. The people who take this survey can be your family, your friends, your coworkers, or your mentors, anyone who knows you well and who could provide answers to the following questions that you'll include in your survey. What am I doing or talking about when you experience me most energized and happy? When you experience me at my best, the exact thing that I'm doing is fill in the blank. What do you see as a special skill that I'm gifted with? And lastly, what are the 3 favorite qualities you see in me? For this question, be sure to include in parentheses for them to include about 1 word per quality. For this one, you're really looking for like 3 phrases or words, not so much an explanation or a paragraph. So be sure to just write a little tooltip there. When sending your survey, be sure to send your receivers a bit of context on what this activity is and why it's important to you. Share that it's something that's going to help you find your unique talents and that you would really value their input. Be sure to also include a deadline so that your receivers know when to complete it by. Once your deadline is passed and you've received all of your responses, here comes the fun part. Synthesize your response by question. So have all of your answers to question 1, all of your answers to question 2, and all of your answers to question 3. And 4, since there's a 4th question. When you're looking at the responses for each question, be sure to look for those common themes and threads. You specifically want to look for common words such as adjectives, nouns, things that you're seeing as similarities between other people's responses. What I found really helpful is, after grouping them by question, looking at each question and finding those common themes and then synthesizing and writing that in like a little, paragraph or a few words or things that really stood out for that one question. After you finish looking through each question and pulling out those common themes or words or phrases, then look at those synthesized responses for all the questions as a whole. They might look a little different, but they will probably look very similar in some ways. They might even be like synonyms of each other. But something I thought was fun was plugging in all people's responses into a word cloud. In this word cloud, I tried to only include key phrases that people said, so I tried to avoid highlighting, and copying words such as like the and. Once I got all of those key words from everyone's responses in, it took a little bit of time, I got to see this really cool word cloud that comprehensively showed this is what everyone thought. In addition to finding your unique strength, it's also just really cool to see what people think and say about you. Whether we like to admit it or not, we all kind of care what other people think, right? I mean, we're social creatures, so we care about whether or not other people think that we're maybe smart or competent or likable. And I actually see this as a healthy thing. Of course, to a point, you can't care what everyone thinks, but to an extent it is important to care about what others think, because then we can really identify what value we bring to the world. So as an additional side note, this is also a cool confidence booster because you get to see, wow, these people appreciate all these qualities about me. After you've ideally completed both of these activities, because I feel like each one provides their own unique insight, you should have a pretty good idea of what your zones of genius are. And you'll likely have more than one. Like for me, for example, I saw a huge zone of genius was definitely creativity and art. Another one being connecting with others, having kind of like certain qualities that help me connect with people through listening, through compassion. And so you might have one or more themes that really emerged from you and stood out as your zones of genius. After you have these, the next big question is, okay, so what do I do with this information? Like, how do I bring this into my life, right? And that, while also a difficult part, can actually be brought into your life in a quicker way than you imagine. Now, let's say that one of your zones of genius is teaching. This doesn't mean that you should just go quit your job right now and become a teacher or a professor at a university. Instead, I recommend that you experiment with bite-sized ways to incorporate your zone of genius into your current life and keep on taking steps as it feels right and as you begin to see more results that you're hoping for. So for example, maybe right now you don't actually do any teaching at your current job. That would be a huge missed opportunity for you to further cultivate that zone of genius, as well as impact others in a more positive way. Maybe you could go to your manager and say, hey, I would really love to lead a presentation, or hey, I would really love to be the person who trains new employees. Maybe you've always wanted to start your own online course. Maybe through Skillshare or YouTube or something, you can begin to share all the knowledge you have in the world and experiment with what's going to be the best format for you to be a great teacher. And actually, to be fully transparent, this YouTube channel for me is kind of like a result of me doing this activity and seeing, oh my gosh, like a lot of people are thinking the same. They think I'm good at art. They think that I know stuff about creativity and that I can connect with others. Maybe I could have more of a larger impact if I had my own YouTube channel where I could be actively like building these skills alongside other people and building a community, meeting new people. So I really encourage you to just think creatively about different ways that you can bring your zone of genius into your current life and continue iterating and building upon it as you best see fit. I hope this video expanded your awareness of what your passion is, as well as what it could look like when it's manifested in your life. If you enjoyed this video, I'll be coming out with new content very soon, so feel free to hit the subscribe button and we'll be in touch.